Wow, every character ever, even replaced characters. I don't know who I'm going to main. In the original, I did a lot of Kirby and Link, but then in Melee it was Game & Watch, Pichu, and Roy that I got really good with. But two of those got cut. Then in Smash 4 I picked up Lucina, Falcon, and Mega Man, and then Roy again, and kind of the Links. I made like 10 playable characters now. Kind of ridiculous. Now that we know a bit more though, here are some hopes I have for this game as Smash Bros. Ultimate. Sure, Echo characters so far are all characters who started out as costume swaps, and it seems weird when you first hear it to have free characters added, but since they are slight tweaks to an existing character, it is a cheap way to keep the game fresh and drum up headlines. They can just drop one once in a while and then follow up with all new, paid DLC characters. Another thing that would be a great inclusion over the years would be packs of minor things like new palette and costume swaps for characters, new music tracks, and even reskins of stages that you can toggle through something similar to My Music. Heck, they could even have menu reskins or new assist trophies occasionally. Now your heart rate may be rising and you may be thinking that sounds like loot boxes, but that's not exactly what I'm saying I want. I want the concept, but I want it done with basic integrity, and for everything to be bought with in-game currency. Let me describe how I see this going down. Like in most Smash games, for playing the game, and only by playing the game, you will earn coins, and with these coins you can try to get trophies or continue in single player. Maybe play orders if orders return, or go to an online DLC shop to purchase character or stage alts, new music, and anything else. This shop's contents will change or increase periodically, and yes, you can even buy loot boxes with coins that will give you a set number of the a la carte items that you don't have yet. You could get a lot of the higher price stuff in this store. The way Nintendo gets some compensation in this situation is that if you play online, you will earn double the coins. For those who don't have the online service, they can buy a 24-hour doubler for offline multiplayer for $1, or just play the game for about 20 hours a week. This would work great with the Switch, because even people who don't have online will probably be playing Smash Bros. In public, keeping the game in the public consciousness. And the more people playing online, the better the online experience will be. It would be a harmless way to include Chef Mario, or Vi-Link, or stage variations as minor as day and night versions, Final Destination and Battlefield Melee reskins, or a fall-themed version of Green Greens with Iggy Woods, or a version of Mute City that looks like Big Blue instead. Something has hit me about Sakurai saying, "Everyone is here." Could everyone actually include scrapped characters? I mean, they were in the game at some point of development, so I could see them being revealed as a further mind blow, and be completely fine with that. The scrapped characters we know for sure are Dixie and Toon Zelda, but Plusle and Minun are very likely another, and a Rhythm Heaven character is possible. But really, it is entirely possible a Rhythm Heaven character was never planned, and instead a stage or something else was planned. The fact there is no data on a specific character, and just speculation based upon something inaccurate tacked onto a legitimate leak, makes me doubt they were ever planned. But if they were, that's cool. This would also not include considered characters, who never were planned, just proposed as a character who could be included, that nobody wanted to include. I really hope they don't try to make the game perfectly balanced. Though I don't want a particularly unbalanced game, I just don't think balancing individual characters is that important for a few reasons. One is that it homogenizes the characters. There are characters who are great on flat surfaces and characters who do well on platforms or in the air, and certain stages are going to favor certain characters. I would never want to see Little Mac's ground game nerfed and air game buffed so he'd be more viable on platforming heavy stages or against aerial opponents. I would much rather see gameplay changes like many we've seen already. Choosing your character after the stage allows you to choose your main who isn't disadvantaged on that particular stage. The melee air dodge gives every character better defensive options when moving through the air. Little Mac isn't an aerial powerhouse, but a good player can still move up to a platform and dodge an attack that would have been guaranteed in past games. Changes like that benefit the game more than having every character play more and more like every other character, so they all are equally viable on any given stage. Another reason I don't think fretting about balance is important is that the competitive community is always going to make rules and ban characters and stages. It doesn't matter how perfectly you balance it. They are always going to make those changes to suit their needs, and that's fine. Plus, you have to consider how diverse the competitive community is. You have the more traditional ones who play stock with no items on a small number of stages. You have the competitive coin community, and I feel like we are looked at like lunatics. But it's really a nice strategic twist. And then you have people who like a certain list of items they will argue don't unbalance the game, and will also consider a wider selection of stages. If you balance for one of these groups, you could make the game extremely unbalanced for another group. So it is better to let them each create their competitive house rules. Again, I'm not saying throw away trying to balance entirely. Just try to add mechanics that equalize and have a general sense of balance. Okay, I don't want to lose custom moves, but given the competitive shift, I think it is likely they will be greatly reduced or removed entirely. But they could be tweaked and shifted onto Echo Fighters to allow for small differences. For example, Mega Man, who has some of the most balanced custom moves, could get a Proto Man Echo that takes some of his earlier custom moves like Shadow Blade, Beat, and Ice Slasher, or a base Echo with later custom moves like Tornado Hold, Plant Barrier, and Burst Bomb. You could make Shadow an Echo that kind of feels like modern Shadow, with tweaked versions of Sonic's customs. You could implement Dark Samus's differences by adapting Samus's shotgun and a few other custom moves, and so on. I'd be hurt less if Echo Fighters cushion the loss of custom moves. Sure, some of these should ideally be semi-clones, like Proto Man should use his shield and his plasma discharge attack. Although Beat would be perfect since Proto Man is very linked with him, and Base should have all of his tilts be pellets, and his somersault kick. But it'd be better than nothing. So I was scrolling through the Smash Brothers group on Facebook, and a conversation inspired this last minute point. A guy wanted all of the intros and trailers from the series included as a sort of archive, which is a good idea. My idea and hope is that you can give these unlockable trailers and intros probabilities, and one will randomly play when you start the game. One time you might get the Mega Man reveal trailer to hype you up. Another time you will get Brawl's intro movie. They could even have all new remake intros as an option as well. For example, a fully redone HD version of the original intro movie. Let's be honest, that would probably be the best intro for this game if it will only have one intro. These are just several of my opinions and hopes. I'd like to hear if you disagree or agree with these points, and what kind of hopes you have for the game now that it's been revealed.